Okay, so I want to make a short video discussing anime dubs, particularly Dragon Ball Z dubs. To celebrate Toriyama's life, Toonami announced that it is hosting a block of Dragon Ball Z Kai, and thousands of fans commented and complained about them not airing the original Z dub instead. Some, wrongly, said it was closer to Toriyama's original vision of the series. And of course, there was the extremely obvious backlash where many younger Kai fans attempted to drag the Z fans and quote tweet the Toonami post how the Kai dub is better, and then they post videos of the old Z dub making fun of it. The reason I am making this video is because, so close to Toriyama's passing, I feel like giving my 2 cents on the fandom. It took like 4 days for people to start the old arguments again, trying to get clout or shitting on other fans for their tastes, and honestly, I have yet to see any one post that wasn't disingenuous or had some form of misinformation of some kind. And I think this fandom war is just blatantly toxic. It's why on all my info videos, I try to play the sub and multiple dubs because at the end of the day, we're all fans. But since people are talking about it, let's explore this topic. Okay, firstly, with the fans of the original Z, it's not true that the Funimation dub of Dragon Ball Z is closer to Toriyama's vision. It's just not true. Now, you could make the argument that the music is great, or that the voice actors had passion, or that the colors are better in Z than Kai. In fact, I think a lot of people agree that that last point is true. I remember hearing everyone complain when Kai first came out about the kind of bland coloring. But let's get back to original Z. You could make these arguments, but at the end of the day, DBZ Kai is more in line with Toriyama's original manga. And if you want the original Z to air, while I don't think that such a thing would disrespect Toriyama, it's just wrong to claim that it's what Toriyama was wanting. However, the reason the Z fans are wrong is very straightforward. The reason the Kai fans are wrong is a bit more complicated and honestly more annoying. Firstly, let's get the big thing out of the way. It's clear to anyone that reads Toriyama interviews, or knew anything about the man, that he really did not care a lot about his original manga, hence him forgetting the fact whole characters or techniques existed, and all the contradictions and revamping of the lore later on with Dragon Ball Super, and the movies. He really took any idea he had in the 80s and just kind of threw it away. And more importantly, he could not care less about whatever dub is playing. So to say he is rolling over in his grave because people want to see the Funimation dub of Z is an incredible fucking stretch. Toriyama was always an easygoing guy. As long as you enjoyed the world he made, he was happy. And even if you didn't, he would not lose sleep over it. And furthermore, more than half the time when someone posts a side-by-side comparison of Dragon Ball Kai and Original Z, they always choose a clip of the 1999 version when Funimation was piggybacking off the Saban Ocean Group. This was when Funimation was in its infancy. Although, fun fact, Funimation was actually created by Gin Fukunaga, whose uncle was Nagafumi Hori, one of Toei Animation's producers. Anyway, no one ever mentions the fact that the first few seasons of Funimation were redubbed and remastered around 2005, making their initial dub, which honestly was fairly campy and stilted often, obsolete. And the redub connected well with the later seasons of Z, where the Funimation cast had gotten their sea legs, for lack of a better term. And so, with the fact that the Twitter platform emphasizing on short gotcha tweets is pretty misleading, and the fact that people post the dub that even at the time Funimation knew they had to change, rather than the Z dub they were proud of, doing all that is just dishonest. Not only that, but I usually see a few claims by sort of anal Kai fans that I feel need to be addressed. Firstly, let's talk about Bruce Faulconer. I'm not going to argue on if it's good or bad, or if his music is, objectively good or whatever. I think at some point I'm going to invite my friend Darnell, who professionally makes music, on to talk about different tracks of Dragon Ball. But people tend to make the inherently wrong claim that Bruce Faulconer stole music, or that he's a nobody musician. Now, I'm not a musician myself, or at least not anything past amateur, but I have personally met SSJ, the band that helped him make his most popular tracks, In fact, I've met them twice, and I've talked to them for extended periods of time. Actually, it's a funny story. I was at Kamehacon, I think it was around 2018, and I had just gotten an autograph from Ryo Horikawa, who is the Japanese voice actor for Vegeta, and I was looking at the autograph when these three guys walked up. I was beside an empty booth, and the three dudes walked up and go, "Hey, what's up? You here waiting?" And I go, yeah, not really knowing who they were. And the guy who I later realized was Scott Morgan turned to Mike Smith and Julius Dabas, I think that's how you say his last name, and goes, "Yo, this dude's been waiting for us before we even got here, man, and we're 30 minutes early." And the next few seconds, I realized that this was the band that helped Bruce Faulconer make his tracks. I completely did not recognize them, and immediately I started asking them questions, and I got to talk to them for the next, hour. And it became apparent that not only have they been in the business for a long-ass time, but they have immense respect for Bruce Faulconer and his skills. They love talking about working with him, and by no means do they think he stole any credit from them. So I'm just debunking those theories about Faulconer right off the bat from my actual fucking firsthand experience. The next bit people love to spout is that Chris Sabbat says that Kai is way better, and that's as definitive as you get. And that's true, I've even seen him tweet that. But I think that this logic is inherently silly, because of course he fucking says that. That's the most recent version of Dragon Ball. Imagine making your third dub of the same series, and then someone asks you which is better, and you go, "Oh no, this is just a shittier version of what you've already seen. I'm just doing it for the paycheck." Of course he's gonna fucking say that. Every new version is the best version, or else you're not marketing correctly. And that has nothing to do with my opinion on which is better. It's just weird people use that as a point. And finally, let's go to the more accurate to the manga statement. That is objectively true. Kai is more accurate to the manga. But the original Z is not really very inaccurate, or at least the redub and then the second half of original Z. I've seen sub, dub, redub, Kai. There's really not too much difference, but people think there is because the only way to know is if you've seen it all, and to prove their point, they will have to post 20-second clips in some weird form of fandom masturbation to prove their point. And that's an extremely cheap, misleading, and disingenuous way to prove anything. Which is one reason why I don't like these arguments in general, because you can do the same thing with sub or dub, or in the Z Funimation dub's favor, or even for Ocean dub. Hell, I bet there's some big green dub clips that are badass if you see them in a vacuum. So this kind of thing is not only just not honest, it's actually kind of disgusting. I've gotten tired of it years ago. But let's get to the accuracy statement. Again, true. But as long as it's the same series, especially in an official capacity, it really doesn't matter. I mean, if you want to be accurate to the manga, then just dispense with the dubs and watch it in Japanese. Or here's a good question. What's more accurate, the Dragon Ball Kai dub or the original Dragon Ball Z Japanese sub? Does anyone have any opinions on that? If the Kai dub is more accurate to the manga than the original Z, does that mean the original Z sub is useless? Or is the opposite true? And with that logic, why even watch the anime in general? If you want to go with accuracy, learn Japanese and read the series in its main form only. If you really think pinpoint accuracy is so important to your viewing pleasure, then just get the anime and Viz to fuck right off. And again, this is not me saying Kai is worse than Z or Z is worse than Kai, but people with these arguments are so tiring. I actually saw someone who, a few months ago, made a fairly popular tweet on Toriyama being a bigot and a racist piece of shit, and now they're arguing for Kai because it's closer to Toriyama's vision. You can't make this shit up. Or a better example, about a year or two ago, I made a pretty popular tweet using DB Kai's Ginyu Force theme song, and I got dozens of comments of people going, "Wow, I'm so glad I grew up with Kai, this is stupid," and I had to break it to them that the video was from Kai. And I know I debunked a lot of the Kai community statements more than the Z community, but I'm on Twitter more than anything else, and that's mostly what I saw this time. But I've seen plenty of Z fans shitting on Kai and a bunch of sub fans shitting on the dub, and vice versa, and everyone wants to claim what is objectively better. That's probably the most hilarious statement to read, when a dub is objectively better. Where'd you get that math? What determines that? Accuracy, lines, emotion, music? How you gonna add that up? Oh, well, Z gave me 78 scenes where I enjoyed it, and Kai gave me 65, but Kai's enjoyment hit me more in my feels, so I will multiply by X. Like, what? Also, how come no one argues over Dragon Ball dubs before Z? Do you prefer Harmony Gold? Do you like Blue Water? Do you like funny BLT version of it? And on that note, isn't it suspicious how the two factors that determine what version of the anime people tend to prefer is either one, what they grew up with, or two, what gives them the most clout in the community? On YouTube, it's Z. On Twitter, it's Kai. On Reddit, it's the sub. Who cares? Just enjoy it, dude. Fuck. Okay. I'm sorry. It's just... Toriyama passed just 12 days ago, and we only found out about it, like, this past Thursday. And the whole unity of the community thing went down the drain immediately. And the shit-flinging started up again, like, within one tweet from Toonami. And it just bothers me. I mean, it's always bothered me. But this time, I wanted to make a video on it because everything is still pretty fresh, you know? Look, I just watch what you want to watch. No dub is objectively better, and yes, it's okay if your opinion is different from other people's. If you're watching this video, and you like one of the official, licensed releases of Dragon Ball, you're a fan. Okay guys, I promise the next video will be an information video and not a rant like this. I apologize since this is not why people subscribe to my channel, but thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate all of you. Have a great one.